what's happening around the world
and what's happening here at home. Welcome to Primetime News on TV1. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Dithmini De Silva.
And I'm Sandro Ferdinando. Let's take a look at your headlines for tonight.
Chief Justice and Judicial Service Commission respond to Vijay Dasa's concerns on judiciary. CJ stresses on collective responsibility to protect judicial independence. Justice Minister withdraws request to summon district judges to Parliament's Privileges Committee.
මේ වන විටත් අධිකරණ සේවා කොමිසම ඒ පිළිබඳ ප්‍රතිචාර දක්වලා තිබෙන නිසා මේ මොහොතේ මම එවැනි ඉල්ලීමක් කරන්නේ නැහැ.
Teacher Principal Associations on sick leave. Public Service Union protest persists. President responds to trade union action with employee allowance for reporting to work. Gratitude for service. No possibility to postpone the election now. Several factions reiterate that presidential election must be held as scheduled. 7 suspects arrested over Club Wasanta's murder.
Starting off with news here at home. In a communication addressed to the Speaker, Chief Justice Jayanta Jayasuriya underscored that the judiciary bears the solemn responsibility of exercising public jurisdiction across all domains, excluding members of Parliament's privileges and powers.
Now, this notification comes in response to concerns raised by Minister of Justice Dr. Vijay Dasa Rajapaksa, who highlighted breaches of parliamentary privileges resulting from specific court actions.
Chief Justice Jayanta Jayasuriya emphasizes that according to the Constitution, the judicial power of the people is exercised by the Parliament through the courts. He notes that the direct exercise of this power by Parliament is limited to its own powers and privileges and those of its members. In a letter addressed to the Speaker, Chief Justice Jayasuriya highlighted the responsibility of all sectors to protect and ensure the independence of the judiciary, essential for the proper exercise of judicial powers. Translated excerpt from the letter. The independence of the judiciary is recognized as an intangible heritage that guarantees the pride and prosperity of future generations of Sri Lankans and the global community. The Constitution declares Sri Lanka's commitment to being a democratic socialist republic. End of translated excerpt. Chief Justice Jayasuriya further stressed that mutual respect and restraint between the Parliament and the judiciary are crucial to protecting public welfare and upholding the rule of law. On the 19th of June, Minister of Justice Dr. Vijay Dasa Rajapaksa raised several issues related to the judiciary in a statement to Parliament. These included an interim order by the Supreme Court concerning the appointment of Supreme Court judges, excluding the Chief Justice, opinions on interim orders by the Colombo District Court relating to the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. The Justice Minister in his statement to Parliament levelled strong criticisms at the current Secretary of the Judicial Service Commission. In response to the Minister's statements, the Judicial Service Association, representing district judges and magistrates, issued a statement on the 24th of June. They condemned the Minister's irresponsible statements and warned of a concerted effort to discredit impartial judges. On the 25th of June, Minister Rajapaksa wrote to the Speaker, claiming that his privileges were violated by the Judicial Service Association's letter. The Minister, citing 2 individual circulars, highlighted the limits imposed on the judges when commenting to the media. He requested that the 2 judges who signed the statement be summoned before the Privileges Committee of Parliament. He made the request by letter, copied to the Attorney General as well. Chief Justice Jayasuriya addressed the issues raised by Minister Rajapaksa in a letter to the Speaker on Monday. In addition, the Chief Justice, as the Chairman of the Judicial Services Commission and its members, Supreme Court Justices Vijit Malalgoda and EAGR Amarasekara, had signed a letter as the Judicial Services Commission and directed separate observations to the Speaker with regard to the concerns raised by the Justice Minister. Chief Justice Jayasuriya, responding to the claims made by Dr. Vijay Dasa Rajapaksa over the appointment of Supreme Court justices, noted that the two vacancies in question at the Supreme Court occurred on the 15th of November 2023 and 1st of March 2024. Chief Justice Jayasuriya clarified that the interim order on the Supreme Court appointments was issued on the 30th of April 2024 and there were no legal obstacles to filling the vacancies between the 15th of November 2023 and 1st of March 2024. He also stated that the appointment of the 5 vacant Court of Appeal judges could proceed without issue. Translated excerpt from the letter. There was an error in the Honourable Minister's statement naming the Honourable Colombo District Judge regarding orders in an ongoing case in which the Minister is a party. Standing Order 91E applies to statements made in Parliament regarding existing cases. End of translated excerpt. The Judicial Service Commission in its letter to the Speaker emphasised that the Judicial Service Association's press release was based on official matters. They noted that the circular cited by the Minister warned against harming the independence and dignity of the judiciary through media statements. The Commission affirmed their confidence in the Secretary of the Judicial Service Commission, stating that he had not misused any rights or privileges.
The Minister of Justice, who initially raised concerns about privilege violations outlined in the letter addressed to the Speaker, has now withdrawn the original proposal to refer the 2 judges from the Judicial Services Association to the Privileges Committee.
අධිකරණ සේවා කොමිෂන් සභාව ඉදිරිපත් කරපු ලේඛනය මම සම්පූර්ණයෙන් අධ්‍යයනය කරේ.
I have not fully studied the document submitted by the Judicial Service Commission. I will study it and provide further clarifications if necessary. I have submitted my question of privilege to summon the 2 judges who issued the press statement to the Privilege Committee. However, Honourable Deputy Speaker, since the Judicial Service Commission has already responded to this matter, I am not making such a request at this time. But in the future, I ask for your permission to consider these investigations and measures if necessary. I am not making the request that they should be summoned at this time.
මේ අවස්ථාවේදී ඔවුන් කැඳවන්න ඕනයි කියලා ඉල්ලීමක් මම කරන්නේ නැහැ. ඔබට බොහොම ස්තුතියි.
It has been 5.5 months and during this time the government has failed to fill the 2 vacancies in the Supreme Court. We too have a problem with the interim order, but the issue lies not with the interim order because it has been a long time since these vacancies existed. Yet the vacancies were not filled. The responsibility of this delay does not rest with the Secretary of the Judicial Service Commission but with the government. It is very serious that the blame is placed on the Secretary of the Judicial Service Commission after a district judge issued a verdict against a case that was filed by the Minister of Justice. The Secretary of the Judicial Service Commission will not obey the orders of any politician and will not act on those needs. That is the issue here.
ඒක තමයි මේ රිදිලා තියෙන්නේ විශේෂයෙන්ම පෞගිය කාලේ ජනාධිපතිතුමාට පක්ෂව තීන්දුව දුන්නාම අධිකරණය එතකොට අධිකරණයේ ස්වාධීනත්වයේ තියෙනවා ජනාධිපතිතුමාට විරුද්ධව තීන්දුව දුන්නාම අධිකරණයේ ස්වාධීනත්වය.
In the past, when the judiciary ruled in favor of the president, it was said to have independence. However, when it ruled against the president, its independence was questioned. The then term judicial cannibalism is used. This reflects President Ranil Wickremesinghe's policy towards the judiciary. Now the match is ready to be played, but the president is trying to avoid participating directly. Instead, there are attempts to influence the proceedings. We urge the president to play fairly, not act as an umpire, and certainly not to manipulate the outcome through methods like the Duckworth-Lewis method in cricket. We urge the government to seize the undemocratic methods and stop influencing the judiciary by deploying their pawns.
අධිකරණයට තමන්ගේ ඉත්තන් යවලා තමන්ට අවශ්‍ය දේ අධිකරණයෙන් කරගන්න බලපෑම් කරන එක නවත්තන්න.
The post of Attorney General was also discussed in Parliament.
The post of Attorney General is vacant. The next most senior person in the department is Ayesha Jinasena. However, Parinder Ranasinghe was appointed as acting Attorney General. It's been less than 2 weeks since the Women Empowerment Bill was moved. These events are being watched by the world. Yet, the government does not award positions to women. I would like to know why that female officer was overlooked and an acting Attorney General position was appointed.
In response to a letter from the BASL about appointing the Attorney General based on seniority, President Secretary Saman Ekanayake has clarified that there is no constitutional requirement to appoint the most senior officer from the Attorney General's department based on seniority, adding that it has not been the practice in the past. He has further informed that the BASL should not advocate for a single candidate among other qualified individuals for the post of Attorney General. Teachers and principals joined the sick leave trade union action initiated by over 200 public service trade unions. The central demand of these unions is for a salary increase that aligns with the recently raised allowance of 25,000 rupees for government executive officers.
26 trade unions affiliated with the Teacher Principal Trade Union Alliance reported sick leave. This decision was prompted by the Ministry of Education's directive for principals to manage school activities this week with parental support. Consequently, the actions of the Teachers and Principals Union disrupted operations in numerous government schools nationwide. Interestingly, schools witnessed a lower student presence today.
Public school students did not go to school. Only a few private school students were present. We are here since they informed us about a job week for scouts. It is difficult to imagine what will happen in the future.
This was the situation in Colombo. Across the north and east provinces, both students and teachers exhibited low attendance rates. Newsfirst correspondents observed that this situation adversely impacted the proper functioning of school education activities. In addition to supporting the trade unions' fight for a salary increase commensurate with that of executive officers, the teachers' principal associations have put forth several demands. These include securing the remaining two-thirds of the agreed-upon increase to address wage disparities, alleviating the financial burden on parents through the removal of various levies associated with free education, allocating 6% of the gross national product to education, and ensuring the effective implementation of promotion procedures.
The decision is being implemented successfully. Teachers and principals of schools in Colombo and in rural areas have not reported to work.
The Teachers and Principals Trade Union called for a joint press conference this evening.
In a media conference held yesterday, they say that the current 18% VAT will need to be raised to 20 to 21% in order to increase wages of government sector employees and also teachers and principals. It is the Committee on Ways and Means in Parliament that says the unpaid taxes are 1,056 billion rupees. We also saw that 54,000 billion was written off as bad debt at People's Bank, according to a report by CORP. A concession of 978 billion has been granted to businesses. Tax concessions of 43% have been granted to multinational corporations. Whose money is this? But they cannot increase the salaries of teachers and government sector employees.
A nationwide trade union strike rocked government departments, ministries, district secretariats and provincial institutions, halting crucial operations. The strike aims to secure a 25,000 rupees stipend increase, similar that was given to executive officials. The state and provincial public service unions collective demonstrated in Anuradhapura, blocking one lane close to the DS roundabout.
When an increase to one sector is made, it may not impact the country. However, we wish to question why there is unjust treatment on the public sector by the government.
The state and provincial public service unions collective also protested in Kurunagala.
90 to 99% of the public sector did not report to work. We warned the government not to compel us to expand this trade union action.
The state and provincial public service unions collective also protested opposite the Galle district secretariat. Non-academic staff in the education sector protested, demanding the 25,000 rupee allowance. A protest took place opposite the Gampaha railway station.
The Treasury Secretary says there is insufficient funds. So how did they give an increase of 25,000 rupees to the executives?
A similar protest took place in Polonnaruwa.
Still in local news, plantation workers took to the streets in protest, voicing their demand for a wage increase of 1,700 rupees. A protest organized by the Ceylon Workers' Congress took place in Colombo today. Demonstrators attempted to march in front of the planter's office but were halted by police, leading to a heated confrontation between the officers and plantation workers. After approximately an hour of protesting, the crowd eventually dispersed.
Director General of Trade Unions to the President, Saman Ratnapriya, shared these views.
Even though the trade unions declared that the strike was successful, we can see that 100% of the main institutions, departments and ministries in the country were operating normally. Health sector is 100% in operation. Also port operations, banking sector, petroleum, electricity as well as other sectors were also operating normally to a significant extent. But we know that some intermediate groups in the public administration and public management sector were involved in this strike. It is a very important factor that we were able to carry out operations normally in many institutions in the country. Clearly, the unions involved in this strike are from JVP, Frontline Socialist Party and Samagi Janabalawegaya. Several independent trade unions are also involved in this, but it is clear that JVP as a party is leading this trade union action, trying to destabilize the country.
විවිධ ස්ථානවල වැඩවර්ජන කැඳවමින් රට අස්ථාවර කරන්න හදනවා කියන කාරණය හරි පැහැදිලි.
Non-executive government employees who reported for duty on the 8th and 9th of July 2024 will be granted a special salary increment. This increment was approved by the cabinet following President Ranil Wickremesinghe's proposal. The President's media division said that the President also proposed to issue the non-executive government officials who reported for duty a commendation certificate for future promotions, and that too was approved by the cabinet. The Cabinet has granted approval to increase the allowances for the evaluation of the answer scripts of the Grade 5 Scholarship and GCE Ordinary Level examinations. The Ministry of Education confirmed that the proposal, based on recommendations from the subcommittee assigned to investigate the issue, has received the green light from the Cabinet. Railway station masters launched an immediate strike against the failure to provide solutions to their demands. Newsfirst Charlotte Benedict brings us the details of the latest situation from Maradana.
I'm currently here at the Colombo railway station just a few hours after the railway station masters announced a strike action coming into effect from midnight today. Now, although the strike action was announced and they said that it was coming into effect from midnight today, from this evening, several train journeys have been cancelled. When we spoke with passengers here, they said they've been here since almost 6:30 this evening and trains have not been operating. Now, one thing that we did see is also the fact that several buses have been assigned to this place to maybe transport some of these passengers to their locations, but trains are not operating from the Fort Railway Station. That is what the passengers here had to tell us. Also, the Railways Department issued a statement and they've said that the night mail that was due for today has been cancelled. Several office trains that have been due for tomorrow, only a few out of them will operate. That is also according to the statement issued by the Railways Department. But right now, there are many passengers who are stranded here. Several buses have been provided for them, but as to whether or not these buses are adequate is another question entirely. What is clear is the fact that although the strike action is due to come in force tonight, passengers have already been inconvenienced by this strike action that has been launched by the railway station masters. We will bring you more accurate details, more specific details as and when we receive them. Signing off with the Newsfirst team, I'm Charlotte Benedict reporting from the Fort Railway Station.
In more news, Sri Lanka police said the shooting that led to the brutal murder of Club Wasanta, also known as Surendra Wasanta Pereira, was orchestrated by two criminals, Gona Govile Shanta and Loku Patti. Inspector General of Police Deshabandhu Tendakon confirmed that 7 suspects have been apprehended in connection with this crime.
Police Chief Deshabandhu Tendakon said that 7 people were arrested for aiding and abetting in the brutal murders. According to the police chief, the crime was orchestrated by 2 individuals currently residing overseas.
We have made several important arrests and their confessions have led to major revelations. I am confident that we will be able to uncover all details surrounding this crime in the coming days, while also arresting those connected to the crime.
The Inspector General of Police has confirmed that 5 police teams are currently conducting investigations under the direction of the Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of the Western South region into the shooting that claimed 2 lives. The shooting occurred around 10 a.m. on Monday at a business establishment where Club Wasanta, also known as Surendra Wasanta Pereira, and singer K. Sujiva were attending the opening ceremony as guests. During the event, 2 individuals arrived in a white car and opened fire with 2 T-56 assault rifles before fleeing the scene. The getaway vehicle was discovered abandoned in the Koratot area of Navagamua at approximately 12:45 in the afternoon. The suspects then escaped to Bulat Sinhala in a pre-prepared van, which was later found abandoned in the Bulat Sinhala area last night. Club Wasanta and a 37-year-old man named Nayana Vasula Vijayasuriya, a resident of Aturugiriya, lost their lives in the shooting. Surendra Wasanta Pereira's wife, Manik Vijayawardena, along with Yomana Kaushadi, another individual, and popular local singer K. Sujiva, sustained injuries and are receiving medical treatment. Singer K. Sujiva underwent a 4-hour surgery involving 5 medical teams due to severe injuries to her left leg sustained during the shooting. As the investigation unfolds, several critical leads have emerged, shedding light on the circumstances surrounding this crime. What is this KPI? Suspicions have arisen that the notorious underworld criminal Kanjipani Imran is behind the recent shooting incident targeting businessman Surendra Wasanta Pereira, alias Club Wasanta, and several others. The evidence pointing to Imran's involvement includes the letters KPI found on the ammunition used in the attack. On the 5th of February 2019, local police in Dubai arrested notorious criminals Makandure Madush and Kanjipani Imran. Reports at the time indicated that the arrest was based on a tip-off from another Sri Lankan underworld leader. The arrest took place during the birthday party of Madush's daughter, and Surendra Wasanta Pereira had been invited to attend the party and was planning to travel to Dubai for the occasion, but was prevented from doing so at the last moment. Following his arrest in Dubai, Kanjipani Imran was extradited to Sri Lanka. He was apprehended by Sri Lankan police while attempting to escape to the Maldives. After being granted bail on the 20th of January 2022, Imran subsequently fled the country.
It is clear that some want to express certain views and comments on the short name of a criminal and link that criminal to this crime. However, police investigations go beyond that. Anyone can claim that a person is linked to a crime. While bearing those in mind, the police investigations go beyond that scope.
Since December last year, Newsfirst reported 34 shootings not linked to police fire.
A nationwide operation is in place. The country faced a situation where dozens were murdered within a month. A shooting involving an automatic weapon was reported for the first time in 2 months. A large number of illegal firearms are circulating in the country. In Operation Yuktiya, we are more focused on these illegal weapons.
The power of the people.
Clean water is a basic human right, but for 500 families in Galembindunubaba, it was a privilege. Now, a new water purification system ensures a vital resource, leaving a legacy of well-being for generations to come.
For the first time in Sri Lankan musical history, 4 amazing musical groups on 4 exciting stages in one arena. Sunflower, Sidua Sakura, Arrowstar, Kurunagala Baji, Sirasa, Sir Brown Fiesta. On the 19th of July from 7 p.m. at Kadal Kalay Ground in Negombo. Make sure you don't miss out. Be there to witness musical history.
Lanka's Got Talent, weekends at 8:30 p.m. on Sirasa TV.
The Election Commission will be empowered to proclaim the date for the presidential election in 8 days.
The government printer, the Inspector General of Police and the Postmaster General were summoned before the National Election Commission today to discuss matters related to the presidential election.
The chairman of the Election Commission, RMAL Ratnaika, said they discussed matters including the future measures to be taken regarding the conduct of the presidential election. According to the Constitution, the National Election Commission will have the authority to announce a presidential election after the 17th of July. The chairman of the Election Commission said, accordingly, steps will be taken to announce the date of the presidential election before the end of this month. The National Election Commission said the 2024 voter list has been certified. Its chairman RMAL Ratnaika said the list of the names will be officially published before the end of this week.
There will be no possibility to delay the election. This is the discussion that took place in the parliament today.
Will this presidential election be held or not? Will any tactics be used to try to prevent or delay it? This is a discourse among the people. There were many discussions about this, but all of that is over now after the Supreme Court's judgment that was delivered yesterday. There is no room for any doubt after this.
නඩු තීන්දුවෙන් පස්සේ ඊට පස්සේ කිසිම සැක සංකාවකට කොහෙත්ම ඉඩක් නැහැ.
දැන් හැමතැනම ආරංචියක් යනවා අලුත් පරතක් ගෙනහැල්ලා කැබිනට් මණ්ඩලයේ සාකච්ඡා කෙරුවයි කියලාත් යනවා. අවුරුදු 5 අවුරුදු 6 කරන්න පරතක් ගේන කැබිනට් මණ්ඩලයේ සාකච්ඡා වුණාද ගරු සභානායකතුමා? ගරු ඇමතුමා. එහෙම සාකච්ඡාවක් වෙලා නැහැ.
6 කරන්න සාකච්ඡාවක් නැහැ. ව්‍යවස්ථාවේ තියෙන යම් වගත්තියක් අනුව 5ම තියන්න ඕනේ කියන එක තමයි මතය උනේ.
එහෙමනම් හොඳයි.
ජනාධිපතිතුමාටත් අවශ්‍ය නැහැ මේ කාලෙ දික් කරගන්න. මේක කවුරුත් බාර ගන්න බෑ කිව්වහම පැනලා දුවනකොට තමයි ජනාධිපතිතුමා අපි මේක බාර අරගෙන අද මෙතෙන්ට ගෙනාවේ. ඒ නිසා විපක්ෂ සංවිධායකතුමා දැනගැනීමට කියනවා කැබිනට් තීන්දුව ගත්තේ අවුරුදු 5 සීල් කරන්න.
Pafral stressed that the presidential election must take place.
Following the recent court decision, it is abundantly clear that extending the term of office for the president of our country beyond 5 years, let alone make it a 6-year term with a 2/3 majority in parliament, is legally unfeasible. The court ruling reaffirms that any extension would require a referendum and constitutional amendment. Consequently, the Election Commission now has a clear mandate to announce and conduct the election in accordance with the constitutional procedures. Notably, the Election Commission confirmed last week that there are no technical, legal or financial obstacles hindering their role in this process.
UNP parliamentarian Vajra Abeyawardena spoke to reporters at the President's Media Centre.
Ranil Wickremesinghe contesting in this year's presidential election is crucial for the security and well-being of our nation. It is imperative that all political forces collaborate in this endeavour. He will contest from the United National Party or any other political faction. He also presents himself as an independent candidate. The Sri Lankan public must rally behind a leader who can guide our country towards true independence. As we assess the list of presidential contenders, it becomes evident that some should feel a sense of shame. If they believe they can effectively govern a nation, it borders on absurdity. Let us scrutinize these candidates carefully.
Former President Maithripala Sirisena said that there is an attempt to arrest him and this attempt is supported by the government.
ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂයේ ආණ්ඩුවේ ඉන්න ඇමතිවරයෙක් මේ සභාවේ ඉන්න පෞගිය දවසක මාධ්‍යයට ප්‍රකාශයක් කළා.
A minister in the government from the Sri Lanka Freedom Party recently made a statement to the media saying that Maitri's end will be either at Angoda or Walikada. Only a court can send a person to Walikada. Is this an attempt by the government to influence the judiciary and send me to jail? If I am sent to prison in the future based on this statement, I have the statement in my hand. I believe that this is being done by Minister Mahinda Amaraveera and it has the support of the government. I have a suspicion since such statements have been made.
සැකයක් ඇති වෙනවා ප්‍රධාන වශයෙන්ම මෙවැනි ප්‍රකාශ කිරීම තුල. මම නම් කිව්වේ නෑ අංගොඩ හරි වැලිකඩ හරි.
I did not say that he should be sent to Angoda or Walikada. I have said something about a speech that was made. I have never said that anywhere.
කතාවක් කරපු එකක් ගැන තමයි වෙන කියලා තියෙන්නේ මම නම් කියලා නෑ කොතනකවත්. බොහොම පැහැදිලිව කියන්න.
I must clearly state that the reason for this party to be destroyed is the fact that this group joined the government.
මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ මහත්තයා
When the proposal to field Mahinda Rajapaksa was approved, he ate hoppers and betrayed the party. The first reason for the party to be destroyed is the fact that he betrayed the party. He was the one who destroyed the party first.
අපි කියන්නම් A to Z කියන්න අපේ ළඟ.
We have a list of facts from A to Z that we can reveal. We have details of the corrupt activities of these people who portray themselves as saints and call everyone else corrupt.
මේ ඇමතිවරු දෙන්න සම්පූර්ණ.
These two ministers are making completely false statements. Did you leave with the approval of the party? You went in secret and accepted ministerial portfolios.
මන්ත්‍රීවරු 142ක්.
He took over this party with 142 parliamentarians. That was reduced to 2 parliamentarians. In the end, he sold the party and completely destroyed this party.
Kadiravelu Shanmugam Kudasan took oath as a member of parliament.
Kadiravelu Shanmugam Kudasan was sworn in as a member of the 9th Parliament before Speaker Mahinda Abeyewardene today. Following the oath affirmation before the Speaker, the member signed the member roll kept before the Secretary General of the Parliament. Kadiravelu Shanmugam Kudasan was appointed to fill the vacancy created due to the demise of R. Sambandhan, a former leader of the opposition in the Parliament of Sri Lanka and leader of the Ilangai Tamil Arasu Katchi.
Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa says senior citizens should belong to a social security scheme.
රජයේ විවිධ ප්‍රතිපත්ති නිසා අද විශ්‍රාමික ප්‍රජාව දැඩි ලෙස පීඩාවට පත්ව තිබෙනවා. රාජ්‍ය විශ්‍රාමිකින් සඳහා ලබා දෙන ජීවන වියදම් දීමන.
Retired employees have been severely affected due to various policies implemented by the government. Is the government satisfied with the cost of living allowance granted to retired government employees? Can't this allowance be increased? The interest rate on fixed deposits for senior citizens has been decreased from 15% to 7%. Is it impossible to grant a 15% interest rate for senior citizens? During the period between 2016 and 2020, payments were made under 2 categories, namely 2019 and 2020 in the pension grant sheet. But as soon as Gotabaya Rajapaksa was appointed, the first thing he did was he stopped this procedure immediately. 120,000 retired employees were affected due to this. Thousands died. What he did was a national disaster, a curse that they did to retired employees. MP Susil Premajayantha says this is why he had to go. Why were the members of the ruling party silent when this was done? Susil Premajayantha says they would have been put out if they spoke. We now have the opportunity to correct this.
සුසිල් ප්‍රේමජාන්ත මැතිතුමා කියනවා කතා කරන්න ගියම එතුමෝ දොට්ට දැම්මයි කියලා.
පොලේ ගියා. සභානායකතුමා කියනවා.
හරි. දැන් අවස්ථාව තිබෙනවා මේක නිවැරදි කරන්න.
The NPP leadership held talks with the Indian envoy in Colombo last evening.
Leader of the National People's Power, Anurakkumara Dissanayaka, held talks with Indian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka Santosh Jha in Colombo. The Indian High Commission in Colombo said the High Commissioner discussed Dissanayaka's political campaign and electoral trends in Sri Lanka. It added that the High Commissioner briefed Anurakkumara Dissanayaka about various bilateral initiatives.
Sri Lanka's Foreign Affairs Minister, President's Counsel Ali Sabri says that Sri Lanka can be done and dusted with the debt restructuring process by the end of the month. He was speaking at a forum organized by Reuters.
Last week, you made headway on your negotiations with bondholders to restructure more than $12 billion in debt by reaching a provisional agreement. How are those talks proceeding? What's the next step? In effect, when will the bond restructuring efforts be finished?
Hopefully within a couple of weeks, that is because in principle, government of Sri Lanka, together with our financial and legal advisors and the bondholders ad hoc committee, which they formed, 52% of them have been represented by their lawyers and their financial advisors, have agreed on the parameters. So those parameters have been now sent to the IMF to see whether that is in compliance with the DSA. It is, in our opinion, because entire discussion was on that basis. If you no point of view discuss with somebody, if it's still not going to in line with the DSA, that is debt sustainable analysis of the IMF, then we will not gain the debt sustainability. So we are very confident that is in line with it, but IMF has to particularly put their seal on that together with the OCC. So hopefully we should get that within the next week or so. So towards the end of this month, officially we have done and dusted with the debt restructuring process. Then, of course, in line with that, we need to start paying them.
As the debt talks have indicated, and you touched upon this before when you said, nobody's going to take our side. You are one of those countries that has to constantly navigate geopolitically, commercially, with countries that they themselves are often at odds. How do you straddle these wider tensions between the U.S. and Japan on the one hand, at India in there, and China on the other? What's your approach?
Our approach is basically we have always been articulate the fact that we were not interested in being an ally of any of these camps. We will be independent country, will be work with everyone, but there are some conditions that our area, our land, our sea will not be allowed to be used to threaten anyone else's security concerns. We will not allow anyone to come and build military bases. We will not be a pawn in their case, because, as my president once put, when the elephants fight, it is the grass that gets trampled. So we don't want geopolitical games playing in our neighborhood, and we get affected by that. So we are very interested in de-escalating tensions. What we could do is have that strategic autonomy for us, negotiate with everyone, however small we are, as sovereign equals, not take sides, open for business, and allow, and to be honest, strategically use that competition to our advantage.
The Public Utilities Commission obtained public comments on the process of reducing electricity tariffs.
When the electricity is sold to the public, it costs about 38 rupees and 50 cents per unit. Currently, we are selling an electricity unit for around 40 rupees and 20 cents. The difference of about 70 cents amounts to roughly 30 billion rupees. Our aim is to reduce this cost or distribute it more effectively within the system. As of the 30th June, the Ceylon Electricity Board's profit stands at 120 billion rupees. However, the board has collected 15,000 rupees from at least 100,000 consumers over 6 months using incorrect statistics. One must not only look at the CEB balance sheet. Therefore, this 120 billion rupees must be given to the people with interest via a tariff revision.
tariff revision එකේ තෙල් මිල අඩු වෙලා ඩොලරය රුපියල් 20කින් අඩු වෙලා එතකොට ලෝක වෙළඳපොලේ තෙල් මිල දැන් ගිය පාර
The price of oil has decreased by $20 and rupees on the world market. Last time there was a surplus profit of 60 billion rupees, resulting in a surplus of 6 billion. Where is the 60 billion now, and where is the relief? Therefore, we the National People's Power propose an amendment to the electricity bill to provide this relief to industrialists and hoteliers.
ඒ යෝජනාව ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්න කියන ඉල්ලීම අපි ජාතික ජන බලවේග ලෙස ඉදිරිපත් කරනවා.
A discussion on the digitalization of the National Water Supply and Drainage Board system took place today.
A discussion on the digitalization of the National Water Supply and Drainage Board system took place in Colombo. The necessary paperwork for this procedure was exchanged between the National Water Supply and Drainage Board, JICA, and Cyclomax International Private Limited. The EDMS system, or Electronic Document Management System, which is being introduced, will operate across 800 sectors in the island.
As everyone's aware, there's an election coming as well, but I don't want reforms or change or any changes that is being brought to be hindered by the thought of political changes. And I think for agencies such as JICA and all other donors who we've met upstairs as well, I think their biggest concern is not whether there's going to be a government change or this and that. Their biggest concern is there going to be continuity? Because continuity of reforms, continuity of projects, and continuity of that relationship that we have is where our credibility lies, where the credibility of the institution lies. We've managed to resume all our projects, and I think even we are happy after Foreign Minister Ali Sabri's trip to Japan. Because, I mean, I represent the marginalized community, and the community that I represent gets about 3 billion rupees a year for development, which is not enough.
Moving on to an update from the train strike we highlighted earlier, the Secretary of the Ministry of Transport and Highways, Ranjit Rubasinghe, says that as transportation services have been declared as an essential service in the country, the sudden strike action that has been announced is completely illegal. He said that strict disciplinary action will be taken against employees of the Railway Department who do not report to work tomorrow. President Ranil Wickremesinghe last week declared transportation as an essential service in the country. Meanwhile, Sri Lanka Navy detained 5 suspects for smuggling animal species by sea.
Sri Lanka Navy deployed Sri Lanka Coast Guard ship Sirasa to seize a local multi-day fishing trawler and apprehend 5 suspects involved in smuggling of several bird and reptile species. The operation was mounted in the southern waters on the 7th July 2024. This operation was conducted based on a comprehensive information analysis by Naval Intelligence over an extended period, focusing on a smuggling record of birds and reptiles. Upon inspection of the suspicious trawler in the southern waters, a variety of 13 pythons, 1 monitor lizard, 1 tortoise and 3 parrots were found, raising concerns over an act of wildlife smuggling. Thus, the fishing trawler along with 5 suspects was taken into custody. The multi-day fishing trawler was escorted to the Galle harbour in the dark hours of 8th July. The officials of the Department of Wildlife Conservation examined the animals and identified them as non-native species to Sri Lanka. It is believed that these animals were smuggled either to be brought into the country from abroad or to be sent to another destination.
Turkish warship TCG Kinaliada docked at the Port of Colombo earlier today.
Turkish warship TCG Kinaliada F514 made a port of call visit to Sri Lanka and is docked at the Port of Colombo. The warship was given a traditional welcome by the Sri Lanka Navy. TCG Kinaliada is the Turkish Naval Force's 4th and final Ada-class corvette. The vessel has a displacement of 2,440 tons, is 99.5 meters long and is powered by 2 diesel engines and a gas turbine, giving a speed of up to 29 knots. That's 54 kilometers per hour. She has a range of 3,500 nautical miles at 15 knots and an endurance of 21 days with logistical support and 10 days while operating autonomously. She has a crew of 93 with space for up to 106. A Sikorsky S-70 helicopter or unmanned aircraft can be carried on the aft deck. The ship is armed with a single 76mm Auto Melara gun, 2 Aselsan Stamp 12.7mm guns, 8 Harpoon missiles, 21 rolling airframe missiles and 2 launchers for Mark 46 torpedoes. The TCG Kinaliada departed Turkey's Asian province of Izmir on 8 April and over the course of its 134-day voyage will conduct 24 port visits in 20 countries.
Thank you very much. Very good day. Thank you very much.
During its 27,000 nautical mile journey to Japan and back. Countries that will be visited include Japan, Saudi Arabia, Djibouti, Somalia, the Maldives, Bangladesh, Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, China, South Korea, the Philippines, Singapore, Sri Lanka, India, Oman, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, Pakistan and Jordan.
Do you recall what took place in Sri Lanka 2 years ago?
We leave you tonight with a refresher of the events that unfolded in 2022.
The 9th of July 2022, exactly 2 years ago, a graceful demonstration of the power of democracy. Citizens united in their quest for freedom transcended boundaries of party, color, caste and religion and made their way to Galle-Face. The people's power shook the foundation of the ruling regime, demanding the then ruler to step down. In the face of the power of the people, a political shift took place. It's been 2 years since that day.